The night was quiet, only the wind moving through the trees. A human man named Daniel walked along the edge of the forest, carrying a small lantern. He lived alone on the border of human and alien lands, where few dared to stay. Life here was silent, simple, and lonely. But that night was different, because he heard something strange. It was a sound too soft to be an animal. A small cry, almost like a whisper carried by the wind. Daniel stopped, his heart beating faster. He followed the sound, moving deeper into the shadows of the trees. The cry came again, weak and broken. It was the voice of a child. Daniel raised the lantern higher, and then he saw her. A small alien girl curled against the roots of an old tree. Her skin was pale with a faint glow, and her eyes shimmered like silver under the light. She wore torn clothes, her arms wrapped around herself for warmth. She looked up at him, fear flashing across her face. For a moment, they just stared at each other. The girl seemed ready to run, but her legs shook too much. Daniel spoke softly. "Hey, it's all right. I won't hurt you." His voice was calm, gentle. The girl lowered her head but did not move. Daniel knelt down, slowly placing the lantern on the ground so the light would not blind her. He noticed scratches on her arms, mud on her face, and the way her lips trembled. She had been outside too long. He reached into his bag and pulled out a piece of bread, holding it out to her. The girl hesitated, her eyes darting from the bread to his face. Then, hunger won. She reached forward with shaking hands and took it, biting fast as if she had not eaten in days. Daniel's chest tightened. Who had left her here, all alone? He whispered, "You can't stay here. You'll freeze before morning." He carefully reached out his hand. The girl looked at it for a long time, fear still in her silver eyes. Finally, slowly, she said her small hand in his. Daniel lifted her into his arms. She was lighter than he expected, fragile, as if the wind could carry her away. Her head rested against his chest, and though she did not speak, he felt her trembling ease just a little. He carried her back toward his cabin, the lantern swinging softly in the dark. When they reached his home, Daniel set her down near the fire. The warmth lit her pale face, and for the first time he saw her clearly. She was not like the alien soldiers he had once seen during the border wars. She looked younger, softer, almost human in her smallness, but her glowing eyes reminded him that she was something else, something mysterious. He gave her warm soup and watched her eat silently. She did not say a word, only glanced at him sometimes with uncertain eyes. Daniel tried to ask questions. "What's your name? Where's your family?" But she stayed quiet, lowering her gaze. Finally, she whispered so faintly he almost missed it. "They are gone." Daniel froze. The words were heavy, too heavy for a child to carry. He wanted to ask more, but her eyes filled with tears, so he stopped. Instead, he wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. That night, as the fire crackled and the storm winds pressed against the walls, Daniel sat awake, watching over the strange girl who had appeared from the dark forest. She was small, fragile, and yet he felt something powerful in her silence. He did not know that finding her would change everything. He did not know that in only 3 days, his quiet life would be broken by 2 alien women standing at his door, and he did not know that his choice to protect her tonight would decide a future he could not imagine. The morning sun broke through the clouds, but the cabin felt heavy with silence. Daniel opened his eyes and saw the small alien girl still curled under the blanket by the fire. Her silver eyes blinked slowly as she woke. She looked fragile, yet there was something strange in her gaze, something that made Daniel uneasy. He prepared a simple breakfast, bread and boiled eggs, and placed a plate near her. She ate quietly, never looking directly at him. Daniel tried again. "Do you have a name?" The girl's lips moved, but no sound came. After a long pause, she whispered, "Lyra." The word was soft, almost like the sound of the wind itself. Daniel nodded. "Lyra," he repeated, trying to make her feel safe, but Lyra only lowered her head. Her small hands gripped the bread as if it might be stolen from her. The day passed slowly. Daniel chopped wood outside while Lyra stayed inside. When he returned, he noticed something odd. The door was open, and Lyra stood near the edge of the trees, staring at the forest as if listening to voices only she could hear. "Lyra," Daniel called. She turned quickly, her eyes wide. For a moment, Daniel thought he saw fear in them, but she rushed back inside without a word. That night, The strange signs grew stronger. As Daniel sat near the fire, he felt something move outside the cabin. Shadows shifted among the trees. Though no wind blew, he grabbed his old hunting rifle and stepped out. The cold air bit at his skin. The forest was quiet, too quiet. Then he saw it. On the trunk of a tree close to his cabin, a strange symbol had been carved. It glowed faintly in the moonlight, a spiral shape with sharp lines cutting through it. Daniel frowned. He had seen marks like this during the old border wars. Alien markings, warnings. He touched the symbol, and it felt warm, as if freshly burned into the bark. He turned quickly, scanning the darkness, but nothing moved. His skin prickled. He returned inside, hiding his worry so Lyra would not see, but she already knew. Her silver eyes followed him, and she whispered, "They are close." Daniel froze. "Who?" he asked, but Lyra turned away, refusing to speak again. Sleep did not come easily that night. Daniel kept the fire alive, listening to every sound. Every time the wind shifted, he thought he heard whispers, soft voices speaking in a language he could not understand. Once, he was sure he saw a shadow move past the window, tall and silent. In the morning, Daniel walked the area around his cabin. More symbols had appeared, carved into trees and stones, always facing toward his home. His stomach tightened. Someone was watching them, marking them. When he returned, Lyra stood in the doorway. Her pale face looked even more fragile in the daylight. "They are coming," she said softly. Daniel crouched down in front of her. "Who is coming, Lyra? Are they your people?" Lyra's small hands trembled as she held the edge of the blanket. "They left me. They said I was too dangerous." Her words cracked, her voice filled with fear. Daniel's heart ached. He wanted to press for answers, but the look in her eyes stopped him. He placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're safe here," he said firmly. For the rest of the day, Daniel kept his rifle close. He chopped more wood, secured the doors, and checked the windows. Lyra watched him silently, never moving far from his side. As night fell again, the air outside grew heavy. The forest seemed alive with unseen eyes. Daniel sat by the fire, his rifle leaning against his chair. Lyra curled beside him, whispering the same words again and again. "They are coming. They are coming." Daniel's grip tightened. He didn't know who they were, but he knew one thing. If anyone came for her, he would not let them take her so easily. And 3 HTS later, the knock would come, shaking his door like thunder. The third night was colder than the others. The fire inside Daniel's cabin burned strong, yet he still felt the chill. Lyra sat close to the flames, her silver eyes glowing faintly as she stared at the wood crackling. She had not spoken much since the last warning, but Daniel could see she was waiting for something she already knew would happen. Outside, the forest was unnaturally still. No owls called, no branches swayed. The silence pressed against the cabin walls like a heavy weight. Daniel checked his rifle again, his jaw tight. Every sound made his heart jump. Then it came, a knock. But it was no gentle tap. The sound shook the wooden door, loud and heavy. Daniel froze. His pulse raced. Another knock followed, stronger this time, as if someone was demanding to be let in. Lyra's eyes widened. She whispered, "They have come." Daniel stood slowly, gripping his rifle. He moved to the door but did not open it. Instead, he called out, "Who's there?" For a moment there was silence. Then a voice answered, deep and sharp, "Open the door, human. You have something that belongs to us." Daniel's chest tightened. He glanced at Lyra, who was trembling, hiding under the blanket. He knew these were the ones who had left the strange symbols, the ones she feared. The knock came again, louder, almost breaking the hinges. Daniel swallowed hard and pulled the door open. 2 figures stood outside, towering against the moonlight. They were alien women, tall and strong, their armor shining faintly. Their faces were marked with glowing lines, patterns that seemed alive. Their eyes were the same silver as Lyra's, but harder, sharper. One of them stepped forward, her voice commanding, "You took her. She is ours." Daniel raised his rifle slightly, though he knew it would not stop them if they wanted to fight. "She was alone in the forest, starving. I saved her," he said. Firmly, the second woman narrowed her eyes. "Saved her? She is not yours to keep. Human hands cannot protect what they don't understand." Behind Daniel, Lyra cried out, "No, don't take me!" Her voice broke the still air. The women looked at her with a strange mix of anger and sorrow. The first woman pointed at the girl. "Child, You were ordered to stay hidden. You disobeyed. You risk everything. Daniel frowned. Ordered? She's just a little girl. She nearly died out there. The alien woman's eyes flashed. She is more than a girl, human. She carries what you cannot see. That is why she cannot stay with you. Daniel tightened his grip on the rifle. His instincts screamed that giving her up would be wrong. He had seen the fear in Lyra's eyes, the way she clung to life, and now to him. She did not want to go with them. She stays, Daniel said quietly, but his words were firm. The second woman hissed, stepping closer. The ground seemed to tremble with her weight. Do not challenge us, human. You do not know what danger you invite by keeping her. Daniel felt the pressure of their presence, their power pressing against him like a storm. But he did not step back. Behind him, Lyra clutched his arm, whispering, "Please don't let them take me." For a long moment, silence filled the air. The two women stared at him, their silver eyes unreadable. Finally, the first one lowered her weapon, but her voice was cold. "Very well, human. You protect what is not yours, but remember this. Your choice has consequences." With that, the two women turned, their tall forms disappearing into the darkness of the forest. The night grew quiet again, but Daniel's heart was heavy. He knew they would return, and next time, they might not leave so easily. Lyra sobbed softly against his chest. Daniel wrapped his arms around her, his thoughts racing. He had no idea what secret the girl see. Arid, but one thing was clear. He was now caught in a struggle far beyond his quiet life, and the worst was only beginning. The night after the two alien women left was restless. Daniel could not sleep. He sat near the fire with his rifle close, watching the shadows dance across the wooden walls. Lyra had cried herself to sleep, her small hand still clutching his sleeve as if she feared he might vanish too. Daniel's mind kept replaying the words of the tall women. She carries what you cannot see. What did they mean? Why did they want her so badly? He had no answers, only questions. In the morning, the forest seemed normal again, but Daniel could feel the tension in the air. Birds sang, the wind blew softly, yet it felt like something unseen was waiting. He stepped outside to fetch water, scanning the trees for symbols. This time, none appeared, but that did not calm him. It only meant they were watching from farther away. When he returned, Lyra was sitting at the table, her silver eyes staring at the empty bowl in front of her. She looked smaller than ever, but also heavier, as if carrying a weight no child should carry. Daniel sat down across from her. "Lyra," he said gently, "I need to know the truth. Who were those women? Why did they say you were dangerous?" For a moment, silence hung between them. Then Lyra lifted her gaze and Daniel saw tears in her eyes. "They are guardians," she whispered, "but not mine anymore. They left me when the fighting began." Daniel frowned. "Fighting? You mean the war at the border?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, our people fought each other. My guardians said I carried something important, something the others wanted. When the battle turned, they abandoned me in the forest. They told me to hide. They said if I was found, I would bring ruin." Daniel's chest tightened. The memory of finding her cold and starving came back stronger. "But you're just a child," he said softly. Her voice broke. "No, not just a child. Inside me is something I don't understand." And they called it the echo. It's like a memory of our people, something ancient. I hear it sometimes, whispering in my head. That's why they're hunting me. If they control me, they control the echo. Daniel leaned back, the weight of her words sinking into him. He had never heard of such a thing, but he could see she was not lying. Her trembling voice, her frightened eyes. This was real. "So they want to use you," he said quietly. Lyra nodded. "Yes, but I don't want to go with them. I don't trust them. They left me to die." Daniel's jaw tightened. He looked at the fire, then back at her. "Then you're safe here, Lyra. I won't hand you over." Her small face lit with a fragile hope. She whispered, "You promise?" Daniel placed his hand over hers. "I promise." That night, however, his promise was tested. Near midnight, the sound of footsteps came again, but softer this time. Daniel quietly moved to the window, peering out. He saw the two alien women standing at the edge of the forest, not approaching, only watching. Their silver eyes glowed in the moonlight. They did not move closer, but their presence was enough to send chills down his spine. Lyra woke and joined him at the window. Her voice was almost a breath. "They will not stop. They think I belong to them." Daniel wrapped his arm around her shoulders. "Then they'll learn you're not alone anymore." But even as he spoke the words, doubt gnawed at him. He was only one man. They were powerful, trained, and determined. Could he truly protect her? Yet deep inside he knew something. If he did nothing, she would be taken, and whatever the echo was, it would fall into hands that meant harm, and he could not allow that. For the first time in years, Daniel felt his life had purpose. But it was also a purpose that could destroy him, and outside the alien women whispered to each other, planning their next move. The morning came cold and gray. Daniel woke early, but he had not slept well. His thoughts were heavy with Lyra's words about the echo. He could not push them away. If what she said was true, she carried something greater than herself, something that could change her people. Lyra sat quietly by the fire, her small hands wrapped around a cup of warm water. She looked tired, her silver eyes dull. Daniel sat across from her. "Lyra," he said carefully, "last night they were watching again. They will not give up, you know that, don't you?" She lowered her gaze. "Yes, they never give up." Daniel leaned closer. "Then I need to ask you something. Do you want to stay with me, or do you want to go back to them?" Her head shot up, fear flashing in her eyes. "No, not with them. Please, Daniel, don't let them take me." Daniel felt the weight of her plea. His heart tightened. He was only a man, yet she looked at him as if he was her only shield. He wanted to promise her safety, but he knew how dangerous this choice would be. Outside, the forest whispered with the sound of the wind, but Daniel no longer trusted it. He felt eyes always watching. His home was no longer just his. It was a place of battle now. Later that day, he heard the sound of footsteps again. This time, not outside the trees, but closer. Approaching the cabin, Daniel grabbed his rifle and stepped outside. Lyra clung to the doorway, her small frame hidden by the shadow. Two tall figures emerged once more, the same alien women. Their armor shimmered faintly, their silver eyes locked on him. The first woman spoke, her tone calm but sharp. "Human, you have had time to think. Hand over the child. It is the only way to avoid bloodshed." Daniel raised his rifle slightly. "She doesn't want to go with you," he said firmly. The second woman stepped forward, her voice colder. "She is not yours to decide for, do you understand what she carries? She holds the echo, the memory of our ancestors. If it falls into the wrong hands, entire worlds could burn." Daniel's grip tightened on the rifle. He swallowed hard. "And if it falls into your hands, you abandoned her, she told me. You left her to die." The first woman's jaw clenched. "You know nothing of our war, human. Sometimes sacrifice must be made. We did what was necessary." Lyra's small voice broke through the tension. "No, you left me because I was a burden, because I was too dangerous for you to control." The words struck the women like a blade. For a moment their expressions faltered, but then the second woman hissed, "Child, you do not understand. That is why you must return. With us, you will live. With him, you will only die." Daniel stepped in front of Lyra, blocking her from their sight. "If she dies with me, then it's her choice. But you're not taking her without a fight." The silence that followed was heavy. The women exchanged a glance, their silver eyes flashing with unspoken meaning. Then the first one lowered her weapon, though her voice was like ice. "Very well, human, you have chosen, but your choice will bring death, not just to you, but to all who come near her." With that, they turned and vanished into the forest once more. The air grew still, but Daniel knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning. Inside, Lyra clung to him, her small body trembling. "You chose me," she whispered. Daniel looked down at her, his heart heavy yet firm. "Yes, I chose you, and I'll keep choosing you, no matter the cost." He knew his words were true, but deep inside, he also knew the cost would come sooner than he wanted. The dangerous choice had been made, and now the path ahead would only grow darker. The forest was quiet that night, too quiet. Daniel sat near the window with his rifle resting across his lap. Lyra lay on the bed wrapped in a blanket, her silver eyes open and staring into the darkness. Neither of them spoke, but both knew the same truth. The women would return, and this time they would not leave peacefully. Hours passed. The fire burned low, casting long shadows across the wooden walls. Then came the sound, soft at first, then louder. Footsteps, more than two this time. Daniel's heart tightened. He stood and motioned for Lyra to stay hidden. She clutched the blanket, her small face pale with fear. The knock came again, shaking the door, but it was followed by a voice colder than before. "Human, open the door. This is your last chance. Give us the child or we will take her by force." Daniel raised his rifle and shouted back, "She stays with me. I won't let you take her." The door rattled as something heavy slammed against it. The wood cracked, dust fell from the ceiling. Lyra cried out. Daniel rushed to her side. "Stay behind me," he whispered. His voice was steady, even though his heart pounded like a drum. The door burst open, splinters flying across the floor. The two alien women stepped inside, their silver eyes burning with power. This time they carried long spears that glowed faintly with energy. Their presence filled the cabin with a pressure that made the air heavy. Daniel lifted his rifle and fired. The shot rang out, but the bullet struck one woman's armor and sparked harmlessly away. She growled, stepping forward. The second woman swung her spear, smashing the table in half. The firelight flickered wildly. Lyra screamed, clinging to Daniel's arm. Daniel grabbed her and pulled her behind him. He held the rifle like a shield, though he knew it was useless. Still, he refused to back down. "If you want her, you'll have to go through me," he shouted. The first woman paused, her spear raised. For a moment, her silver eyes flickered with something, respect or perhaps doubt. She growled, "Why risk your life for her? She is not your blood, not your kind." Daniel's voice shook, but his words were strong. "Because she's a child. Because she deserves more than to be hunted like an animal. Because she trusted me when you abandoned her." The words struck deep. The second woman hesitated, her grip on the spear tightening, but the first snarled, "Trust will not stop war. Echo must return to her people. Stand aside." Instead of standing aside, Daniel charged forward, swinging the butt of his rifle into the first woman's chest. The blow made her stumble. He grabbed a burning log from the fire and swung it at the second. Flames burst, smoke filled the air. The cabin shook with chaos. Lyra screamed again, but this time she raised her small hands. Her silver eyes glowed brighter than ever before. A strange pulse rippled through the room. The air trembled. The alien women froze for a heartbeat, their spears flickering with unstable light. Daniel stared in shock. Lyra's voice rang out, clear and strong for the first time. "Stop!" The women staggered back, their eyes wide. For a moment, the room fell silent except for the crackling fire. The first woman lowered her spear slowly, her face unreadable. "The echo awakens," she whispered. Her eyes shifted to Daniel, filled with something new, uncertainty. She stepped back toward the broken door, the second woman following. "This is not finished," the first warned. "But you are not as weak as we thought, human." They vanished into the night, leaving only silence and smoke behind. Daniel dropped the burning log and pulled Lyra close. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. She buried her face against him, trembling. The fight was over for now, but Daniel knew the war had only just begun. The cabin was quiet after the battle. Smoke still lingered in the air. Broken wood scattered across the floor. Daniel sat on the ground with Lyra in his arms. Her silver eyes glowed faintly, but her body trembled as if the strange power had drained all her strength. He whispered softly, "It's all right now. They're gone." But even as he said the words, he knew it was only for tonight. The women had left, but not because they gave up. They would return, stronger, and next time they would not hesitate. Lyra clung to him tightly, her small hands gripping his shirt. "I didn't mean to," she whispered, her voice shaking. "The echo, it just came out. I couldn't stop it." Daniel stroked her hair gently. "You saved us, Lyra. That power, it's part of you, but it doesn't make you a monster. It makes you someone worth protecting." Her eyes filled with tears. She had always believed she was dangerous, unwanted, abandoned. But now, in his words, she heard something different. Hope. The next day, Daniel began repairing the cabin, hammering wood across the broken door. Lyra tried to help, carrying small pieces of wood to him. Though her hands were tiny, her determination was clear. Daniel smiled at her effort. She was no longer just a frightened child hiding in the shadows. She was fighting too, in her own way. By evening, the door was fixed, though the cabin still showed scars of the fight. Daniel cooked a simple meal and they sat together near the fire. For the first time since he found her, Lyra smiled. It was small, shy, but real. But peace did not last. As the fire burned low, Daniel felt it again, the presence. He stood quickly, rifle in hand. Lyra's smile faded. She whispered, "They're back." The knock on the door was softer this time, not the thunderous demand of before. Daniel opened it carefully, and his breath caught. The two alien women stood outside once more, but something in their faces had changed. They did not raise their spears. Their silver eyes no longer burned with anger. Instead, there was respect and even sorrow. The first woman spoke, her voice low. "Human, you surprised us. We expected weakness. Instead, you showed strength, not with weapons, but with loyalty." Daniel did not lower his rifle. "If you came to take her again, you'll have to kill me first." Lyra stepped forward, clutching his arm. The second woman shook her head slowly. "No, not tonight. We have seen the echo within her. We have seen her choice. She does not belong to us if her heart rejects us." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Then what do you want?" The first woman's gaze softened as she looked at Lyra. "To warn you, the echo is awake now. Others will come, not just us. Greater powers than we will seek her. If you protect her, your life will never be the same." Daniel glanced at Lyra, her silver eyes staring up at him with trust. He tightened his grip on the rifle. "Then let them come. I already made my choice." For the first time, the tall alien women bowed their heads slightly, a gesture of respect. Then they turned and vanished into the night, leaving the cabin in silence. Lyra pressed her face against Daniel's arm, whispering, "They won't stop, will they?" Daniel looked down at her, his heart firm. "No, but neither will I. You're safe with me, always." She smiled again, this time brighter. The firelight reflected in her silver eyes, and for the first time since he had found her, Daniel felt something new. Family. He had begun this journey as a lonely man, living on the edge of the world. But now, with a small alien girl by his side, and the bond of trust between them, he knew his life had meaning again. And though danger waited beyond the forest, Daniel also knew one truth. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The days passed quietly, but Daniel knew the silence was only a mask. He worked hard to keep the cabin safe, adding stronger locks to the doors, sharpening tools that could serve as weapons, and teaching Lyra how to stay hidden if danger came. Still, unease followed him everywhere. Lyra was changing too. She no longer looked only like a scared child. Sometimes her silver eyes shone brighter, and when she closed them, Daniel swore he heard faint whispers, like voices speaking in an ancient tongue. She told him she didn't understand the words, but they filled her dreams. They told her things she could not repeat. One evening, as the sun set behind the trees, Daniel noticed something strange on the horizon. A dark shape moved above the forest, not a bird, not a cloud. It glided with silent speed, its surface gleaming faintly under the fading light. Daniel's chest tightened. He had seen ships before during the border wars, but never this close to his home. He rushed inside. "Lyra," he whispered urgently, "stay away from the windows." The girl obeyed, clutching the blanket and sitting by the fire. Her silver eyes flickered with worry. "They're here, aren't they?" Daniel nodded, gripping his rifle. "Maybe not the same ones, but someone is." That night, the forest came alive with noises. Branches snapped. Voices echoed in the distance. Not human voices, but alien ones. Daniel stood guard at the door, every muscle tense. Suddenly, a bright light swept across the cabin, blinding for a moment. Lyra screamed and covered her face. Daniel pulled her close, dragging her to the corner. The light vanished, leaving silence once more. Minutes later, the knock came, softer than before, almost polite. Daniel's heart pounded as he aimed the rifle at the door. "Who is it?" he shouted. A calm voice answered, unlike the sharp voices of the alien women before. "We come not to harm, you. We seek the child. We seek the echo." Daniel's blood ran cold. He knew Lyra's secret was no longer hidden. He shouted back, "She's not going anywhere." The voice paused, then replied, "You cannot protect her forever, human. She belongs to the echo, not to you." Lyra trembled, tears filling her eyes. She whispered, "Daniel, they'll never stop. They'll keep coming until—" Her voice broke, unable to finish. Daniel placed his hand firmly on her shoulder. Then let them come. We'll fight every last one of them if we have to. The voice outside chuckled softly. Brave words for a fragile man. We will return. Then the footsteps faded, the forest swallowing the sound. Daniel sat back heavily, the rifle slipping from his hands. He had faced battles before, but this was different. This was not just about his survival. It was about hers, and the secret she carried. The next morning, he and Lyra walked to the river to fetch water. On the rocks near the bank, Daniel saw new carvings, strange symbols glowing faintly. They were not the same as before. These were sharper, more complex, as if another group had left them. His stomach turned. More were coming. Not just the Guardians, but others. Lyra touched one of the glowing marks, her hand trembling. I can feel them, Daniel. They're searching. They won't stop. Daniel pulled her hand away quickly. Then we won't stop either, he said firmly. He looked at her small face, the fear, the strength, the strange light in her eyes. In that moment, he realized something important. He was no longer just protecting a child, he was protecting a future, one that could decide the fate of more than just their world. The shadows were gathering beyond the forest, but Daniel was ready. He had chosen his side, and now there was no turning back. The forest no longer felt the same. Daniel could sense it every time he stepped outside. The air carried a weight, as if the trees themselves were holding their breath. Lyra stayed close to him, her silver eyes darting at every sound. At night, the whispers grew louder. Daniel sometimes heard them too, faint and chilling. Lyra admitted that the voices inside her dreams were stronger now, guiding her, warning her. Sometimes she woke trembling, saying names Daniel could not understand. On the fourth day after the ship appeared, Daniel noticed something strange near the edge of the woods. A figure stood between the trees, watching. It was not the two alien women he had seen before. This one was taller, cloaked in dark fabric that shimmered like liquid shadow. When Daniel raised his rifle, the figure turned and vanished without a sound. Lyra gripped his arm, her face pale. That was not them. That was someone worse. Daniel crouched beside her. Worse? She nodded slowly. The Guardians only wanted to control me, but the others, they want to use me, to break worlds with the echo. Daniel's heart sank. He had known danger was coming, but hearing it from her lips made it heavier. Then we'll fight, he said quietly. The next evening, the cabin was surrounded by strange lights. They floated between the trees like pale flames, moving in circles. Daniel grabbed his rifle and stepped outside. Lyra stayed behind the door, her silver eyes glowing faintly. A deep voice rolled through the forest, powerful and calm. Human, you guard something that is not yours. Give us the child and we will spare your life. Daniel shouted back. She's not a thing to give. She's a child and she stays with me. The forest stirred and several figures stepped into the light. Their armor was black, their eyes glowing red instead of silver. They carried weapons Daniel had never seen, glowing. Blades that hummed like fire. Lyra cried out from inside the cabin. They are hunters. They come from beyond our lands. They will not stop, not until the echo is theirs. Daniel aimed his rifle, his hands steady despite the fear inside him. The first hunter stepped closer. Do not resist. You cannot win. Your strength is nothing compared to us. But Daniel did not lower his weapon. His voice was firm. Maybe not, but I will fight anyway. The hunters paused, almost surprised by his defiance. Then one of them lunged forward. Daniel fired. The shot echoed through the forest. The hunter staggered back but did not fall. His armor smoked, but he kept moving. Daniel retreated into the cabin, slamming the door shut. Stay down, he shouted to Lyra. Bullets would not be enough against these enemies. He braced the door with furniture as the hunters struck again, the wood cracking under their power. Inside, Lyra's silver eyes glowed brighter than ever before. She clutched her head, whispering, The echo. It's calling. It wants me to fight. Daniel knelt beside her. Then fight, Lyra. Use it. Don't be afraid. She looked at him, her face wet with tears. If I use it, Daniel, I might lose myself. He gripped her small hands, his voice steady. Then I'll bring you back. I won't let you be lost. Her silver eyes widened, then hardened with resolve. She nodded, and the cabin shook as the first wall splintered under the hunter's blows. The storm had gathered, and the battle for the echo was about to begin. The cabin shook as the hunter struck again. Wood splintered, glass shattered, smoke from the fire filled the air. Daniel stood in front of Lyra, his rifle raised. His hands were steady, but inside his chest, his heart pounded like thunder. The door burst open, and 3 hunters stormed inside. Their glowing red eyes locked on Lyra, their blades hummed with deadly energy. Daniel fired. The first hunter stumbled back, sparks flying from his armor, but the others kept advancing. "Run, Lyra!" Daniel shouted, but she did not run. Instead, she stepped forward, her silver eyes glowing brighter than ever. Her small body shook, but her voice rang clear. "Stop!" The word echoed like thunder. The hunters froze for a heartbeat, their weapons flickering. Then the air rippled. A wave of light burst from Lyra's body. The cabin walls rattled. Flames roared higher. Daniel shielded his face. The hunters staggered, their red eyes dimming as if the light tore through them. One fell to his knees, clutching his head. Another dropped his weapon. Lyra's voice grew stronger. "You will not have me. I am not yours." The echo had awakened fully. Daniel could feel it. The ground itself seemed to tremble. The whispers that haunted the nights now poured into the room, but not in fear. They sounded like a chorus, ancient and powerful. One hunter managed to raise his blade again. He charged at Daniel. Daniel swung his rifle like a club, knocking the weapon aside. The hunter snarled and shoved him to the ground. The blade lifted for the killing strike, but before it fell, silver light wrapped around the hunter, lifting him into the air. Lyra's eyes blazed like stars. Her small hands glowed as if holding invisible fire. The hunter screamed as the light consumed him. Then he vanished, leaving only smoke. Daniel stared in awe and fear. Lyra trembled, the light fading slightly. "Daniel," she whispered.